Welcome to Spiritual Disclosure. I'm your host, Dean Ryan. Joining me today are my wonderful co-hosts. Here on my right, Dr. Lynn Orwick, natural health practitioner, protector and practitioner,
Exactly.
and biofeedist.
Okay, biofeedist.
Sitting across from me, the wonderful, as always, author pilot Michael Orwig. Round of applause for you. And last but hardly least, the multi-dimensional expert, the wonderful Sarah Adams. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
We're good.
Are we good?
Well, we're as good as could be.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, how was your night last night? I heard you had a big night.
Oh, yes. It was
Yeah.
chock full
Yeah.
of Toastmasters.
Well, at least you woke up on time today. That's good, you know, because when Lynn goes to town. But let's hit the let's hit the ski slopes immediately here. This is this is right here in Reuters. Google to pull plug on AI Ethics Council. Alphabet Inc.'s Google said Thursday it was dissolving a council a week early to consider issues around the artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies. So the oversight in these AI functions at these big companies are getting pulled. They don't want any oversight at all. I guess we just hand the keys of the city to the AIs and just say, hey guys, go to town. So what's the deal here? Do we need ethics council? Do we trust the AIs?
Do we trust the ethics council?
Do we trust Google?
Do we trust
Alphabet?
Google?
I'm with Lynn. Do we trust the ethics council? Is a huge. Whose interest are they? Are they like the
FDA.
That's exactly where I was
the
thinking.
fox
The
guarding the
FDA
hen house.
and guarding our food supposedly, and half of the FDA is Monsanto execs that used to work for Monsanto. That doesn't exactly bode well for you and I.
for AI at all because they can, you know.
Whether it's the FDA or whether it's councils like this, they are paid off. It's evident that they're paid off to kind of, pass anything under the table that would be very, very critical, that the public would be critical about, and that wouldn't like. So they're kind of brushing it under the table in a way.
Or did the council find something they weren't supposed to, and Google said take a hike and just wash the deck of them? We don't know.
We don't know.
And I do think they're
It's a
doing
good
stuff
question.
like mixing a lot of things like, AI with also stuff that
Transhumanism.
Yeah, transhumanism. So that's another thing that is just really weird and creepy and scary.
Well, let's move on to this one. Here's something very interesting from TechRadar.com. The first 5G phones are now going to be in our hands. Verizon, I know, I'm excited too. Verizon unexpectedly got a jump on many other countries, including Samsung Galaxy S10 5G. It just landed and was deployed in places like South Korea. And now they deployed the first 5G network in Chicago and all the suburbs.
Wow.
I guess we're going to find out right away if 5G is going to burn people to a crisp. I guess South Korea is going to be the guinea pigs and everybody in Illinois.
I think that 5G will have a severe negative emotional effect on those people. That's what I feel. I feel it's going to have a huge negative emotional effect on a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because the cells, I feel like when you're depressed, when you are just down, it's because your cells are unhappy. I do believe that depression is very much linked to cells that are in an unhealthy state. So the depression would come from the fact that the cells are being stressed out because of the waves from the 5G.
But if you go and add to that, how many different things do we know in our society that are absolutely horrific for the human body, that because of corporate interests, it somehow magically is still put through by the government, and we're exposed to it now, whether it's, as we mentioned, the FDA, you can go back to cigarette smoking. And how long was that considered, oh, this is so good for you, and it caused cancers for so many years, and they would cover it up. And how do we know that's not going to be the same scenario here with the 5G, that
Well, it is the same scenario.
you'll see
It
the
is.
cover up
It is.
for
I
how
think that
long
they
saying,
know.
oh, it's really not the 5G doing it, it's
No,
something
I think they
else.
know. I think they know that
Oh,
it's,
I know
it's
they know.
dangerous, and they're brushing that under the table.
Yeah.
Because people want to have smart homes so that you can be spied on. And they want,
Exactly
I mean,
right.
it's crazy to me that people are crying out for this stuff when they're
Well,
going to just track
The
all-
irony is, I guess you got to be really stupid to have a smart home, right?
Exactly.
Oh,
Ooh, that's
I
a good
coined that.
Good
Nobody
one.
better steal that from me. But
Good
speaking
one.
of genetically modifying the world, this comes out of the new atlas. We have the world's first gene-edited lizard that are now pink. We have a lizard called the Anolis sargria lizards. A university at Georgia lab discovered that they are now pale pink colored. The lizards are reportedly the world's first successfully attempted produced lizard that has been genetically modified reptile. So now we are genetically modifying not only the cells from 5G towers, they're modifying pink lizards. So are they going to be modifying pink humans?
Well, they did salmon. I mean, salmon is coming to a grocery store near you right now. They made them bigger. They said, "Oh, we're not going to release these into the wild." They're going to have one mess on their hands.
There's
with
an
that.
important point with all of the genetic modified, and it's how the human body sees it.
Or
If-
anybody.
Well, like a synthetic anything, a synthetic food. If you're eating it and you're expecting your body to absorb the nutrients, it may or may not. You'd have to look at an individual basis, but so many of the genetically modified things, the body doesn't recognize it and consequently can't process it. And
Right.
It's
And-
poison. It's poison.
Yeah.
It's poison.
No, I think that's just what they're releasing to the public. I think they have went way further than
Oh,
5
yes.
years ago.
Oh,
I
yes.
think that's just
No, you're
Yeah,
right.
that's
you are
just-
right.
that's the tip of
Tip
the
of the
iceberg of what's
iceberg.
really going
And
on.
that's what they're telling us. That's all.
Because I know
what
they
they're
have
telling us.
technology where they can literally create what eye color the baby's going to have, all sorts of stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I've read so many articles on this stuff. So
Yeah.
now, if I could, one of my favorite sources of information that I've absolutely, of all of David Wilcox's material, is the material from the Russians on their ability to transfer DNA from one organism to another without contact. It's some of the most fascinating stuff of a benevolent, beneficial side, whereas we know they can do the darker side without a problem, but we have the capability of taking, in essence, my younger self's DNA and bringing it into my current form
So why don't
and making us all younger, and I might have hair or whatever.
So GMO is not so bad after all if used properly or applied.
Not GMO.
Not GMO, but genetics in general
So we can
have
make,
some
we can
beneficial things that could
Mine
be
could be a
used.
pink lizard.
good way to bring it back around.
Hey, but here's the good news. Here's some good news. This is from
with all
Natural.
the conspiracies out there already about me, I'm like, you're like pink lizard.
It could all be pink lizard. But here's some good news from Natural News. Tennessee now becomes the fourth state to restrict the use of Monsanto herbicide. Tennessee follows Arkansas, Missouri, and Kansas in holding the global giant Monsanto responsible for environmental damage.
Can we
That's
just
some
kick
good
them
news.
out? Can we just kick them out of everywhere? Like out of every state.
Why
out
do
of
they
every
have to?
country?
Why does it have to be outlawed? But people, you would think,
Well,
would
people don't know.
would wake up. Well, there's
Some people
reports.
don't know.
Well,
There's
a lot of
people
people,
don't know.
because my neighbors all use it on all of their lawns every day.
Mhm.
And they have found pesticides now even in newborn infants. So
Well,
Monsanto is a big culprit for that.
Well, there was just a lawsuit in California. A guy sued for $100 million Monsanto because he got cancer. I think he
There's
got
two.
100
There's been two
Yeah.
now that
And they
have been
won,
against,
I
and
think
they
they
won.
did.
They
They won.
did win. But the other thing that's
We-
happening with the Roundup is they spray, and this is true, all grain, all wheat
Oh.
that is not organic with the Roundup. 3 days before they harvest it because it kills it. So
Which
all of
puts
the
it
white
directly
bread,
into the food supply.
it's gone right into
That's
our
terrible.
main food supply. So it's
I
bad.
want to jump to
Okay.
this is New York Times. Speaking of good news, plastic bags to be banned in New York. Second statewide ban of the plastic, besides California. New York state lawmakers have agreed to impose a statewide ban on most type of single-use bags from retail sales, changing the a way of life for millions of New Yorkers. Do you think, is this a trend we're going to
About
see?
time.
Is this going to be a
So
domino
happy.
effect? Is this a domino effect that we're going to see
Yes,
across the United
I think
States?
so. Yes.
And we were talking earlier, what about the alternative? What do you see?
I see hemp. I see
Yes.
hemp as an alternative
Yay,
bag.
Or
Colorado.
even recycling stuff. We need to recycle stuff more than rather
Sure.
than just trash.
Trash it. Clothing
Um,
is a big thing
I
too.
just-
Yeah.
I think the whole world should stop using plastic bags
Right.
and
Sure.
plastic. We should try to.
Plastic bottles.
Well,
too.
we were talking in we were
I
talking.
saw
in-
this one river, and it was just. I think it was over in Thailand. It was just completely. The river was completely covered with plastic bottles and plastic.
Oh, in
bags.
Egypt too. When I was in Egypt, the Nile. I mean, this most beautiful rivers
Oh,
and
and that's sacred, but not.
sacred. I know. It made me sick. I did.
Within the technologies either coming or already there but being held back,
Mhm.
what degree do you guys think that we actually have the technology currently here, workable, that can re-energize a product? In other words, whether it's trash,
Well, there's a lot
plastics
of it. I mean,
that
there's.
can literally recreate that in essence like a Star Trek.
I've seen.
3D
Replicate.
printing probably.
Right. Well, 3D printing. That's one we could reuse a lot
We
of
could
the
reuse
it's
all
the-
that plastic
it's
to
the
make
taking
homes,
the
to make
plastics
different
and
stuff for people. Yes.
Exactly.
bringing it
So
back
that's
to
a
an
great
energetic.
idea.
I mean, we could make furniture out of
Yeah.
it. We could do because it,
New
You can make
ideas.
fuel. You can make
we
fuel.
could. I think that we need to start collecting all the plastic and finding a way to reuse it in a positive manner.
Eccentric
and
ideas.
Yeah.
Speaking of eccentric,
Eccentric.
this is straight out of the mirror. .co UK. Man who never felt human now lives his life as a dog in a $4,000 suit. The Mirror at UK reports. Man claims he never felt like a man, so now he eats his meals out of a dog bowl, wears a dog mask, and often bites, barks, and licks his friends. Is this another example of what the GMOs have done to the human brain to body dysmorphia, whether it's cutting your arms off, whether
Well,
it
might be
is...
toxins more than
And
just
it
that.
could
you
be
know?
he might have been a dog in a past life, and
Right.
maybe he's.
Well,
Remembering
for example,
that.
let me
Because I know
just...
people that act like very cat-like. I know some people that act very cat-like, and then I knew a person who I just saw he in a past life that he was an elephant. I see that a lot of people, you know, some of them maybe it's his first incarnation from
being a dog.
and that's,
Well, that's
his
a
right.
good
If
point.
he wants to act like that,
Is
for
this
me,
body
he's
dysmorphia?
He's not hurting anybody, so I'm not going to judge him.
No, he's
I'm-
not, but
he's
he
not.
is biting and barking at people. So I, contrary to your statement, he is hurting people. But
He's not an aggressive dog.
But
He's
Dr.
like,
Orwig, is this not another example of body dysmorphia and just complete mass illness across the world? I mean, he's in a full dog suit.
I'm with her.
religion
I
is mass illness.
I
Like
wouldn't
he's
go
not.
that far.
He's taken a
What do
number
you
two at fire hydrants.
What do you consider dysmorphia, though? I mean, we talked a
Well,
little bit earlier.
grown men, some grown men think they're 5-year-old little girls, and they
All
dress
right, well,
like
we're
it.
not going there.
Okay.
But
Oh yeah.
Well, moving on. This is we have a few minutes before break. This is straight from the Detroit Free Press, and this is some good news. And we actually did this earlier today. New study shows 20 minutes in nature reduces stress and hormone levels. University of Michigan researchers concluded that a 20 to 30-minute walking, sitting, or completing a physical activity or interacting with nature can reduce health issues such as chronic stress, blood pressure, cholesterol, heart disease, and weight. And, you know, in full disclosure, because this is spiritual disclosure, Dr. Lynn Orwig and I, we went on a nature walk earlier
we did.
where she then lost the dog and became a nature rescue and research, which I was
You
stress
saw
relieved.
things he did.
My stress level went up. But besides that,
Mine did too.
Michael, how important is getting stress relief in this toxic world?
Well, I just think back to your point about nature in general. Getting out in nature is one of the most beneficial things anybody can do, and especially
children.
with me writing about the new children. Do you see them on a tablet? Do you see them on a phone? How many of them do you see in nature nowadays? Where when Lynn and I grew up, it was natural.
We actually played in the woods.
It was,
Yes.
without having
I-
five
Interacting
adults,
with nature.
without having 5 adults watching over you.
I love nature. I'll lay on the ground, even in the ice and the snow. I'll lay straight on the ground, and I can feel the Earth's magnetic field, and it's very healing to me. I try to spend as much time as I can in nature, and around lakes, around the ocean,
Yeah,
around
right.
rivers is where we can find the most healing because it's charged with so much chi energy, and that alone starts to heal our aura. It starts to heal our organs. It starts to heal our entire body, and the benefits of that are endless.
Endless. Well, let's end on this story. We got a hard break coming up. But here in celebrity royal news, the Queen now bans Meghan Markle from wearing crown jewels. The move has escalated tensions between the Duchess and senior royals. Reports are that the Queen has been unpleased with Meghan Markle's attitude. So the question is, are we seeing the end days of the royal family?
I like Meghan Markle. I just think
she's
she's so
different.
lovely, and I get this amazing energy from her, and I think she should be treated like the rest of royalty because she does act like it. She's a very noble woman.
Maybe they don't like her because she's not reptilian, doesn't have a tail, and
I wouldn't say that. I'd say that she's maybe a bit of an outsider, and they're having a hard time accepting her.
sure.
But I think that Meghan and Harry bring a lot of love.
They do.
I mean, I don't care what anybody says. You just look at them and you can tell that they're very much in love.
And they care
And
about
we
people.
We
They
need
care
that.
about
and
people.
yes, they do. And we need that in the royal family. I think. We need a lot more of that in the royal family.
Some say we don't even need a royal
So I think
family.
she's a gift.
She's a gift.
She's a gift.
And maybe she will change things
Yes.
from the inside. which
Interesting
is-
point.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to actually take a hard break. In fact, coming up in our main segment after this hard break, we're going to talk about earth changes. The main story happening right now is in Mexico. A big volcano erupted just days ago, and its ashes are getting all over Mexico City, which is already polluted, one of the most
Right.
polluted cities in the world. So we're going to take a break here on Spiritual Disclosure, and coming up, we got a real treat from you, and of course, viewer mail. Welcome back to Spiritual Disclosure. I'm your host, Dean Ryan. I'm joined by Dr. Lynn Orwig and Mr. Michael Orwig and the wonderful Sarah Adams. And let's get right into it, guys. We want to talk about earth changes today. Our main story is the volcano eruption in Mexico, and I'm going to butcher the name, but it's the volcano's name is Popocatépetl.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. I practice all day in the mirror,
Okay.
as I do with everything. It erupted in a 12-kilometer radius. Warnings that ash from the volcano will be dispersed towards the northeast area. Heavy smoke will prevent air travel. Let's start with Mr. Michael. Is this a sign of things to come across the world? All these volcanoes and such just erupting and throwing ash everywhere.
It's been ongoing for an extended period of time. This is not a sign to come. This is all part of the Earth's shifts that have to occur. And one of the things I love to focus on that most people don't look at is Mother Earth as a entity, her own energetic body. And when Sarah does a cleanse or I do a cleanse, we're attempting to get rid of energetic blockages, energy that's not suitable to us or whatever. Mother Earth absorbs all of our negativity. She has to get rid of it in some fashion. So you'll see her movements, same as we go and do some kind of exercise or whatever to get rid of our stress. Mother Earth has to get rid of her stress, and that's where you'll see the volcanoes, earthquakes certainly. The extremes would be the typhoons and hurricanes, that kind of thing. But the Mother Earth herself can move the magma underneath the crust and literally warm up an area differently. In other words, there's so much going on beneath the scenes that the average person is clueless.
Sarah, bouncing off what Michael said, is Mother Earth releasing,
Cleansing herself, yes.
cleansing herself?
So-
Are these the end days? I mean,
No, these
in
aren't
your-
the end days. These
Okay.
are the beginning of
Oh, the beginning
new,
days.
yes,
Got it.
a new era in humanity.
So it's a
within
cleansing.
humanity.
It's a cleansing.
Well, you know what? And we were talking a while ago off camera about Mexico City, how the ash, kind of just got all over Mexico City. Now, if you know anything about volcanic ash, it's considered sacred and purifying. So think about it. Mexico City has a lot of negative energies in it. It's got a lot of hurt. It's got a lot of harm. And the earth is literally raining down the ash, I believe, as a purification. Now, this would not happen if we cleared our cities energetically. The earth would not have to go
That's a
and
great
try to
point.
clear it
That's a
itself
great point.
if we did. If we had priests and priestesses or groups of people in these cities who cleared the grids of these cities, there wouldn't be any natural disasters because the earth would not have to go try to clear those herself. And when she does it, she's going to do it like a tsunami, she's going to do a volcano, because all the energy there is condensed until it explodes, basically. She's trying to release. She's not trying to harm humanity. She's trying to heal herself. She's trying to get rid of the negative energy that we have collected in the cities, which are essentially hives of negative energy.
Elaine, you've been to Mexico
Yes,
many,
I
many
have,
times.
many times.
Probably
yes.
more than people realize. Will Mexico recover from this? Is Mexico still going to be there after this volcano finishes its cleansing?
Well, of course, Mexico will be there. It's only a question of the people, and maybe maybe like what Sarah's saying is that it's a sign that if we need to start doing something differently. You
And
know?
I want to add back in, I've had a lot of downloads on this, so the earth tries to purify herself. Now, if we purify those energies ourselves, there won't be no natural disasters in those areas. So we could literally do the work so that we don't have any more tsunamis, no more hurricanes, no more tornadoes, no more volcanoes, by clearing those energies in those areas so that the earth doesn't need to cleanse those herself.
We've dodged a bullet in one of the apocalyptic sides, and that was Yellowstone National Park is one of the hugest volcanoes on the planet.
Right here
And
in our backyard.
Part of our timeline at one point in time, not
Yes.
now, but an older part of the timeline was for Yellowstone to go active, and the explosion would literally wipe out the United States.
But it's happened in
remember that
California
timeline.
too. They
But-
changed
but
that
we've
timeline.
changed-
Yes, I remember that timeline. I remember a timeline where California was underwater. I remember a timeline where
Yes.
Yellowstone volcano did blow, and I remember being one of the ones who worked on those timelines, so I do agree with
And
you.
we've shifted it enough where so even though someone forecasted 30, 40 years ago, that forecast at that time and that timeline may very well have been accurate. But we have done enough shifting and enough progress energetically around the planet where it no longer.
I mean, in religion, talking about the end of the world and natural disasters, it's fair points. The more people that
That's
believe
just what I
it,
was
the more
gonna
that
say.
they make it manifest in this world.
Exactly.
And that's because lower consciousness beings like feeding off that energy of fear and off of the, just the fear of there might be the end of the world. I was a small child. When I was like 5 years old, my mom was convinced that every year was the end of the year, of the world. The world. She was convinced that. I remember as a little girl, she'd tell me it's the end of the world. And this is my birthday. I'm 34 years old today, this month. And you know what? I'm still alive and well. And if I had completely just focused on
You
that,
would've just-
I wouldn't have lived life.
yeah.
So many people that believe in the end of the world, they live in so much fear and paranoia. It's absolutely sad. It literally takes their life away from them.
Wow.
When you were talking about the volcanoes in general with the planet, the Ring of Fire has been active for decades now.
Mhm.
But unless it impacts a particular city where it makes the news, we don't hear about it.
Or Hawaii, one
But-
of our
one of
which
our
is
one of
part
our main
that
ones,
ring,
but the
it's-
Ring of
we're
Fire
at the
has
far
built
been-
end. We're
built
far-
on volcano ash,
Yes.
isn't it?
Well, it
Yeah.
is volcanic. It's
Yeah.
a volcanic islands. All
Right.
of them are done because the plate's moving and the each island is growing.
And
with
there's a
the
new
volcano.
island forming
Yeah.
actually in Hawaii, right?
But
That's what we-
it's important to realize that it's been ongoing for a period of time, and It's all part of the natural process. Mother Earth is moving into her higher frequencies of fourth density, and all humanity has to move with her. It's part of her own evolution. She has her own evolutionary cycle, same as we do.
And the Earth is working up towards the seventh density. And the seventh density is where everybody is one with their soul, everybody is one with nature, and that's where telepathy and everything else is.
Instant manifestation.
Exactly, that's what
Mhm.
the Atlanteans lived in.
I remember.
But there's another aspect. There's another aspect to the earth changes that David Wilcock has really pointed out and done an amazing job of looking at when we say global warming as an earth change. It's the entire solar
It's
system.
our solar system.
Is
He's
warming
looking
up.
at-
Yes.
And we're
He's looked
moving
at all the
into
planets.
an entire region of the cosmos of great change. It's not just us. It's not.
We're not
Don't get me
separate
wrong.
from
We
the rest
have,
of
with our pollution and our own effect, affected global warming. We absolutely have, and it needs to be cleaned up. But it's important to realize that the entire cosmos that we are existing in is changing temperatures in every planet that we have in our solar system, and so it's not just us.
Right.
Unbelievable. I guess there's a lot of drama in this world. So let's end on some viewer mail. We got some really great emails this morning. Actually, it was flooded, and a lot of them went into spam. That's a different story. There's a lot of things in my spam mail that you would just be shocked to see. But moving on, let's start with Frank from South Carolina. Asked, quote, "What is structured water, and does it help heal ulcers?" Oh, that's a good question. Who wants to jump at that wonderful
Well,
structured water?
I'm not a doctor in that way, but I do know that when we structure our water, which just means rearranging the molecules so that we have more health benefits from them, and they're structuring, the ways to structure water are many. You can just think love to your water. That's one of the easiest ways to restructure your water, and it will have health benefits across the board. So he might try that, but maybe
But-
Sarah has another
we can
suggestion.
imagine. We can imagine like we could do love, but we can also imagine like the color yellow.
Yes.
Any colors.
That's a
That
good
also
point.
works well at charging your water. So if you have depression, imagine charging your water with yellow or orange. And around 3 weeks, you'll notice a big difference in your.
But what
in
is
your
structured
depression
water?
for a
Frank,
positive
Frank is from
change.
South Carolina. What is a Cliff Note version of what structured water is?
There's
In 10 words or less.
10 words or less. It's just when water molecules rearrange themselves to be ice, to be vapor, and to be liquid. And we're not really exactly sure because it's the only liquid that acts like this, but it's basically just a rearranging of the molecules. And I mean, I can cite an example, like say with purified water, it's being forced through a filter,
Mhm.
and that in that way you're structuring it, but not in a good way. So when you have positive thoughts, you can put it out in sunlight for a while and get the sunlight codes. You can do the colors,
Crystals in the water.
crystals in the water. This helps to re-energize the water in a sense.
Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Spiritual Disclosure. For all my wonderful friends here, I'm Dean Ryan, and we'll see you at the next episode.